So we've got some work to do on the 73. One of the things is to get rid of these door panels, cheap broken pockets, and also screwed onto the door. They put some correct door panels on here. So that's today's project. Door panel swap is usually pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Typically you're just going to need a Phillips screwdriver. Depending on the condition of your clips, you may need some new door panel clips. I would go ahead and order those anyways. There's also little boots behind as well. If you're missing those, you'll need those. I'm not sure what we're going to need on this. I do have some door panels. You have some clips. Not sure if I have any boots, but we're going to pull this panel off and we're going to see what we need. Window crank, just pop that off. Take your screw. I've got my electric here. It's just a short little screw. Try not to lose it. And this just pops off. Then you got a trim behind it. That trim keeps it from opening a hole in the panel. You definitely need to have that. Now in here, this is a 68 and later style. There's a little plastic cover in here, which you might be able to get your fingernail in there and pop it out. But little flathead screwdriver, get in there and pop that out. So you just want to pop out the little plastic in here. This can break, be careful with it. Pull it right out. Then you got another Phillips screw back here. Slide that out. Then if your car has an armrest, you got two more Phillips screws down here that need to come out. All right, so you remove those two, then you got your armrest off. And now you should be able to just simply pull the door panel off. It should just snap off. This one's breaking, but I don't care because we're throwing it in the garbage. If you're trying to get this off to do some work here, you definitely want to be a little more careful with it. Oh, forgot. I've got these two screws down here that somebody put in. Let's take these out. Okay. Well, as you can see, it looks like most of the boots are here. I would normally replace these. Now this car has had a inside and out full paint job. It was originally white. You can see here they had obviously the door panels off when they painted it. Yeah, I got a loose bolt here. Tighten that up. These are where your armrests go in. If these are broken, of course you need to replace them. While you're in here, you might as well check out the channel that your glass sits on. Feel if it's rusted. It's got a little bit of rust on the edge. If this rusts in half, your glass will just fall down. Check to make sure everything's tight in here. These are 10 millimeters. It's a good opportunity just to inspect everything while you're in here. I'm gonna pull all the clips off of here, and then we're gonna check out the new panel. Here's the door panel on the inside. See that stain? It's all waterlogged and warped. Can you tell why that might be? Yep. No moisture barrier in here. So that's something that we have to replace before we put the panel back on. I assumed so much, and I was correct. If you don't put plastic in here to keep water from getting on your panel, you will ruin your brand new panels. So don't be that guy. Don't be this guy, whoever it was that did this. Do it the right way. Here's the old panel. Here's the new panel. These are Empi brand, as you can see here. I did not purchase these. These came with my 97 Mexican Beetle, but I rebuilt the original gray panels, which I preferred over these black ones. So as you can see, there's no holes cut out. They're made as a universal set. So you've got the small hole for an earlier Beetle, the larger hole for the later style Beetle. So that has to be cut out. And obviously the armrest holes as well. I'm almost sure that these panels on here are probably Empi panels as well. They look very similar. But we've got to do our moisture barrier first, and then we can work on this. So I found that I did have some of the door panel clip boots in my toolbox. I don't have enough to do everything. So what I've done is I've gone around the door here and I've looked for any that were damaged, and I pulled them out and I am replacing them with the new boots. So anything that doesn't have a solid boot, I'm putting new ones in. You simply just push them in until they're flat like that. You can see the ones that were in here previously, those might be original. They're definitely larger. These are a little bit more subdued. 73, at the time, the US federal government was mandating more safety issues in these cars. And if you can see in this door, that's a crash beam in here. So it gives you a little bit more safety on the side. They also put a plate behind the front bumper as well. 1974 is when Volkswagen switched to the 5-mile-per-hour bumpers. But just some interesting things on a 73. What I use for the vapor barrier is just simply a plastic roll that you can buy from any home improvement store. It's just a thin plastic, not super thin, but thin enough. And I lay the door panel on top of it, and then I trace around with something that I'm not going to get ink on the door panel. Just kind of loosely, because I want the shape. And as you can see here, what I've done with the razor blade is I've cut in quite a bit, because it doesn't need to be quite as wide as the panel. You don't want it sticking out at the edges, but you need it to be able to attach to the metal surfaces. So once you do that, you'll be ready to attach it. I use a couple of magnets just to hold this up here so I can mark the holes. So you've got to obviously cut for your handle, for your window crank, for your armrests. So you can mark those with a marker and then cut them and then get ready to install the plastic. So once you get your holes cut, and you can see they're not masterfully cut, it really doesn't matter. You can be OCD about it if you want, make them beautiful, but again, nobody's gonna see this. Just wanna make sure it covers everything. I'm using a rubber cement to glue this on. Some people use double-sided tape. There's a lot of different things you can do, but you just wanna make sure it stays. All right, we have the moisture barrier up, and I've got this rubber cement on here. Oh, we have Patches, the shop cat inspector. She likes to double check all my work. She's here supervising. And depending on how you cut this, you may need to trim a little bit for the holes here. One of the things you want to do is try to test fit this trim in the hole here, especially with this universal style panel. As you can see, this does not fit, and I have it pretty much trimmed all the way. Still a little bit more I got to do in here, but you definitely want to find this out before you put the panel all on the vehicle. This has to fit in here and go down. This has to fit in here and be flush, so you need to trim it accordingly. I want to show you guys the issue with these Empi door panels. So if you look right at the back of the door pull, this door panel, even with that section cut all the way out, is still hitting on the back of this pull, so it has to be modified. These holes are not exactly in the right place, so I would say that's a fail. So here's a close-up of the fail with the cut on this door panel. You can see if I push on it, you see how this is pushed out, but that's hitting on the back of the door panel, and that's with that hole cut all the way out. So I'm gonna have to go modify this further in order for it to fit. Well guys, I had to break out the Dremel, and I had to basically cut a groove into the back here, as you can see how that is, in order for that latch to clear it. back, there's that groove. This hole is definitely not big enough. So my thoughts on these Empi panels are really, they're a fail. I would rather buy ones that were made for the vehicle specifically. I know if you're on a budget, maybe that's all I can afford. But in the long run, buying better quality parts is always going to work to your advantage. Who wants to spend, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever it takes to modify something that's brand new? What's it worth for your time? Since we ran into problems with the cut of these holes here, I'm also going to assume we're probably going to have problems with the clips. Putting the clips in is a little bit of like a science, because you have to put them into the door panel, then you have to see where they align, because these clips just don't go in straight. They may be angled one direction or another. So just prepare yourself for when you put these in that things are not going to line up. Okay, something else I'm concerned about with these panels. So if you see down here, we have two holes side by side there, and then we also have a couple different holes here. So you're going to need to line these up against your door and see which ones are correct. I'm a little concerned with how close the ones on the side are to the edge. They're not pushed all the way out. They're just really close to the edge. I'm not a fan of that. Doesn't look like they may hold on very well. As you can see here, this normally should be pushed like this in the hole, but if I do that, look where we are. We are all the way at the edge of the door panel, which it shouldn't be like that. So in here like this clip is just barely hanging on. Yeah, and these clips, the way they go on, you just have to stick them into the hole like this and pull them. Depending on how tight they are, you may need a pair of pliers, but typically they're pulled pretty close to the edge. Again, I think this panel in general was not cut right. But now, once you get the clips in, then you've got to lay your panel up against the door and align all of these clips before you start pushing it in. To give you a little more perspective on how these holes, I think, are not properly drilled, look how this clip is pulled as far up as possible, and look how much space we have between the edge and the door panel. Whereas you look at the ones on the side, if I pull those clips all the way up to the edge, they are literally on the edge of the door panel. I have a space of almost a finger tip in here. So this is gonna cause a little bit of a problem. Wow, guys, this Empi door panel is a total fail. So how I mentioned about the clips in the panel not being cut, the holes being cut right, I could not put a single clip up here on the top of this door panel. I just have it on the sides. And check out this. Look how this fits here. It's terrible because the holes are off. I was able to get the sides on, but stay away from these panels. Do not buy them. It's not worth, even if somebody gave you a set, I wouldn't use them. Definitely looks better than what was on here before, but this Empi panel is a fail. Do not buy these. Again, do not buy these. I like to put the window crank on so that when the window is down, it's up like this so your leg doesn't hit it. Totally up to you where you want to put it. Just make sure everything's tight. But at least now we have a watertight panel. May not be the best, but at least it looks good. Hey guys, one of the things that happens when you film things and you're not working at normal pace is you sometimes forget and make mistakes. I forgot to put the holes in here for the armrests. So they are cut out in the back. I just forgot to poke it through. So all I did is I felt for the hole and I drilled the screw in and then I cut around it. So not a big deal. This hole looks okay. This one, not so much, but that's the last step. Don't forget that. It's much easier to do when the panel's off. Okay, here is the actual finished door. We've got the original armrest back on here. Doesn't look too bad, you know, despite the problems with this Empi door panel. This top is staying on here without the clips. If need be, I was gonna put double-sided tape up here. Again, this is just, I can't stress that enough. This is such a fail of a door panel. I'm not looking forward to putting the other ones in. Matter of fact, I don't know. I guess I have to because all of them are bad, but yeah, it is not worth buying these. I can't stress that enough. I think I've said it 20 times in the video, but please do not buy these Empi door panels. Don't buy them. Spend a little extra money, whatever you can. Don't buy the Empi panel.